You're watching BCTV, Branford's community access station.
This is BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford.
Good evening. I'll call the order of February 22nd, 2018. Board of Fire Commissioners meeting. We'll start off with the call to order and approval of the minutes of the December 16th, 2017, and the meeting of January 29th, 2018, special meeting. Do I have an approval?
I'll approve the December 16th, 2017, and January 29th, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Okay. So voted. Reports first. Commissioner Riccio and Commissioner Pafora are unable to attend, along with Assistant Chief Heffernan, so I'm going to turn this over to the Chief on Finance.
Okay, so just a quick rundown of the Chief's report. We hadn't had a regular meeting, so I added the call volume from December. So we did 479 calls over December, 565 in January, and 344 to date in February. In 2017, the department responded to 5,997 calls for service, so just shy of 6,000 calls last year. 72% of those were EMS or rescue related, including motor vehicle accidents and the like. The small boat purchase we were working on, it kind of stalled. You know, it was a mid-year request anyways, so at this point we decided to just push it off into the apparatus plan for the upcoming capital request for this year's budget. And we made a history. We added a 5th Branford Fire Department ambulance. And it went into service beginning in January. It's fully equipped at the advanced life support level, and it is only staffed at this time by call-in crews and for replacement should we have a mechanical breakdown. So that is in service. Police and Firefighters Insurance Association donated a training prop valued at $200, and we're going to discuss our preliminary 2019 budget tonight. Our transfers were approved, which is under the finance report. And you want me to keep going with Al for buildings?
No, we'll go back to that after. We'll come back. Oh, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Let's go to buildings.
So
Keep talking.
All the buildings, everything's been with our stations have been going along fine. Otto's been taking care of any issues we had. We did have a fairly major repair of one of the compressors here, but it's all under control by Otto's crew.
Okay.
The Station 9 committee
It's
is,
been 5 years.
you approved the plan to be sent to the Board of Finance, and the Board of Finance will hear the Station 9 appropriation request on their, at their Monday night meeting.
26, yeah,
On
February.
the 26th.
Yep.
And I did have the opportunity to listen to the plan of conservation and development, which is ongoing. And I heard some,
That's interesting.
I would just say a little bit of misinformation or you know, not having a clear picture of the fire department, our facilities, what we do, what we need, and where we're going in the future, and why would we would need to do that. So I'm going to, in the process of writing a letter that we have up until the 26th to respond. So I'll be responding, just offering a kind of a vision of what we have always talked about. I'll give you an example. They felt, when they talked about MP Rice, they felt that that was just like, it was a closed station, it wasn't being utilized, and it is our second busiest station overall. While that station in the future may close at some point and that crew would come over here or be mixed into other crew, there is no plan currently for that. That station's been there for 100 years, and or company's been here for 100 years.
1899.
They've been in that
Yeah.
station
Yeah.
for quite a long time. So, and then the other kind of mentioned, they talked about how, you know, this was the hub, the headquarters, and most of the outlying stations were part of the, you know, when each district was a village, and we might not need all these outlying buildings, and that's really not the case. While we may add a station, as we've talked about out east at some point someday, that would be our most logical place to put a new station with more paid personnel. But that, you know, so that should be in the plan somewhere. And, you know, the building of the new Station 9 down in Indian Neck will give us, you know, if, again, thinking towards the future, that would be the third location that we would maintain any career staff. And I don't want to get anybody nervous talking about that now. This is well into the future, but that's what planning is for. It's planning for the future. And then the other outlying stations, you know, we hope we can maintain our volunteer staffing for as long as possible, but we all know it's under pressure, so.
Yeah. No, I think to be transparent, I actually called the chief on that, right, chief? And I said that I got a third report on it, a third-hand report, and I said that there's a lot of misinformation. I think that committee needs to come and talk to us,
Right.
understand our vision moving ahead to the future here of the department, because I think we know best. We have a lot of minds around it.
Yeah, and they did reach out to all the department heads, in fairness to them, and I did include a response to that, but for whatever reason, it didn't translate into that meeting. So I think it's would serve us best to just make sure everybody understands.
Yes.
That things like station location, response time,
Yes.
all of those are you know, kind of standards of cover. While each municipality decides what they can afford and how they can afford it and what model they're going to use.
Perfect.
You know, we try to strive to, you know, keep the response time under a certain, you know, have a station location within, you know, 1.5 miles of most houses, keeps your insurance rates low, fire hydrants, that kind of
However,
thing.
things may change in the new
right,
model
yeah.
moving ahead. That's what we want to say.
Yeah.
It's a
But I think
target.
it's really important, because I think we end up, I mean, my sense is we end up pushing back against misinformation a lot of
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
People asking, you know, a
Yeah.
lot of questions about where buildings are located,
Yeah.
or why does the fire truck come when there's a medical call. That's a famous one.
Yeah, well, that's what gets the people there. That's what we say.
Yeah,
They don't understand.
That,
you know?
yeah, there are paramedics on
Yeah,
that engine.
yeah, exactly, yeah, so,
Well,
okay.
I think also, because I've had conversations with friends of mine and stuff, and it's almost like they just have no clue until you dial 911 and we show up. They don't know what we do.
No, they don't have
No,
an idea.
no.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it really
Oh,
is scary.
Listen, we're transparent, so just give us a call.
Yeah.
Right, like the chief said. Good, okay. Personnel.
Okay, wait, I hate to
I'm
go
sorry.
off traffic. Years ago, do you remember when we invited the RTM members to come over and tour the old headquarters?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you thought about maybe doing something like that, inviting?
Well, we have Don here right now. Don's
Yeah,
here.
Don,
Don's
I
our
mean,
rep,
come on.
RTM rep. He's here.
No,
he's here
Don,
from,
but
you
this
know.
is the whole thing, is you have RTM members who don't have a clue about this firehouse, and I'm telling you.
And that's why I'm here, because
Yeah.
I
He's
wasn't
learning. He's
educated
been
enough.
with us, just us.
Don's now the chair
Don?
of the Public Services.
Yeah, so he's been
Committee of
really
the
spending a lot of
RTM.
time with us up here. He's beginning to know. you know.
Replaced
That's
Bob
where I
Imperato, who's
first
now on
learned
the
Yeah,
about
Board
the
of
fire
Finance.
department, was on the
Yes.
Public Services Committee.
Yeah, okay, good.
So,
He's got a helmet, coat
last
now.
year,
He's
just so you
responding.
know,
No, thank you.
2 years ago, when the new committee sat, we did give them an overview of the station, a lot of the highlighted equipment and stuff, so that they could see
Yeah.
where their money goes, you know, and,
Yeah.
and how we use it for.
Yeah.
So we're always up for that too.
Right, okay.
Okay, on personnel, we have two people that posted out that they are going to retire, long-term members of the department.
Yes,
And
yes, I'm crying already.
that's not part of the report though, but, you know, so they always come in threes, I say.
Yep, yep,
It's the old saying, right?
yep.
And we have
A lot
two
of
fire.
experience.
Yeah,
Oh,
a
yes,
lot of vets are
uh-huh.
leaving us, that's
Yes.
our thing. So, we also have two firefighters on sick leave, one on light duty, and two of our three recruits,
Fire captain.
you know, is in the fire
Academy.
academy. Yep,
Yeah, so that's kind of highlighted in there to show the pressures of our replacement line items this year. We have essentially had 3 full-time vacancies that had to be replaced on overtime from July, one way or the other. And so it seems like every time we get somebody in the door, we get them fixed, something else happens. And it's unfortunately kind of a result of the fact that we are an older department that's starting to get younger again. So as some of these guys, this is a young person's job. And as they get older, they're more likely to get injured. We do have some, unfortunately, people who just have sick. One's a broken collarbone, the other one's had a surgical procedure. These things happen to people, and that's what they're sick time for. Unfortunately, when it happens in years like this, it's harder to manage. I must say that I'm going to be seeking some guidance from the selectmen, first the commission obviously, but the selectmen and Jim Finch. I'd like to talk about Rescue 2. We do fund that Monday through Friday for 10 hours strictly on overtime. And in the past, when we've had these types of pressures, we shut that unit down. And it is a critical unit, as you know, to everything we do. If we shut it down, that's one person that's not available for that next ambulance call. The ambulance revenue, it has been...
It drives everything.
It's been paying for all of these extra things. Like I said, if we staff these positions, when we brought the part-timers in, if we do our own calls, we bill for them, we get the money back. Unfortunately, the money goes into the general fund. It's not coming back to us. So I can't just say, well, yeah, give me some of that money to cover the shortfall. There's a whole process that will need to happen. And my understanding is that to get any of the money that ends up coming in over surplus, you would either, you would go to contingency, which we have, or you would have to vote to increase the overall budget, move that money into contingency, and then transfer it that way. So there's a whole process. So before I do that, though, I just want to get some guidance from our financial people to feel them out,
Well, this really, though, has, regardless of where the money goes, whether it comes to us or we take a chunk, if we in some way impede the productivity of the ambulance service, which we would do if we shut down Rescue 2, then we are cutting back on revenue generating potential. So you got to staff it to make the money.
But because
Also possible injuries.
Yes,
And-
yes.
And what we're doing, the big thing is, they help a lot. It's a big...
And they've kind of understood in the past when we've transferred money from our own budget into these other line items, but we haven't had to go to contingency in many years, other than for like the accumulated sick payouts, which nobody carries in their budget anyways. So I'm trying to avoid having to do that, but this may not be the year.
Right.
I want to be open and transparent and honest
Absolutely.
that we're under a lot of pressure with the vacancies.
Here we are. Good. Okay. Commissioner Klein.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you there.
Yes.
Training, okay, let me find my papers here. Here we go. Okay. Busy, as I say, every meeting we're busy, my God. Okay, here we go. Okay, we just have some new assignments. We have a drill master, an assistant drill master, and a fire inspector. And they're going to be responsible, let's see, now the fire inspector is going to be responsible for hazmat and technical rescue.
So he took on that ancillary role
Yes.
for the to help manage that portion
Who's
of the
that?
training.
Doble?
Rob
Dobuzinski.
Dobuzinski.
Yeah.
I met him today.
Yeah.
He specializes in technical rescue. He's a member of the Massachusetts
Good man.
FEMA Task
On the
Force.
squad, yeah.
And he's also was a member of Connecticut Urban Search and Rescue
Yeah.
Team. So he's got a lot of knowledge and technical skills to bring in. And so he's going to oversee it. Other people would be doing a lot of the training. Most of the training will be done on duty, but his role is to really look at the standards, figure out what we have to do in a cycle, because a lot of these technical skills have to, for instance, hazardous materials technicians have to do 24 hours of continuing education every year, and it needs to kind of be different every year, so that you're not always doing the same thing, and that you get to see all the skills in a cycle. So that's what those jobs are there to do.
That's good.
Okay, and that's what's in March. We'll be focusing on the annual hazardous material training, which we have to do. We have 2 firefighter vacancies that have been filled, and recruits have started up at the Connecticut Fire Academy. Let's see. We have the physicals. Oh my God, yes, the physicals have already started. Hopefully they'll be finished by the end of March. We have 1 new volunteer in Firefighter 1 training, and he's finishing up. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Well, whatever, he's in Firefighter 1. And then from what I've learned also is February was the Back to Basics training program with the SCBAs, and all 4 shifts and 2 of the volunteer companies have received hands-on buddy breathing. So I asked, what is buddy breathing? And it's where you have your mask on and everything, and if you're running out of oxygen, you'll take yours off and you give it to me.
Well, all of our modern SCBAs have a buddy breathing hose.
Oh, it's a hose. Okay.
If you're in
Share it
trouble
back.
and I'm sent in to help you with, we always try to work in twos, but if we come in to help you, we can share air just by plugging into your SCBA. But you have to think about how we do these things. It's in bulky equipment under very intense, possibly very hot conditions, blind. So it's a skill set that has to be maintained to crawl around in the dark and find.
Yes.
Most of February is kind of a back to the basics for our breathing apparatus, because it is our lifeline for everything we do.
Exactly.
And so we're doing that. And we're just going to build, Gary's plan is to build off that. And he's been doing a great job in the position. We're very happy with everything to date. And this time of year, the first quarter of the year, is typically our OSHA compliance, because the weather's not so good. So we're taking care of bloodborne, HAZCOM, all of those annual refreshers, physicals and whatnot. So that's all getting done.
Yeah, the ice pond, you do everything, yeah. Well, the extra scoops with the Titanic, yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned that the trailer that the state has, that we're going to have it, is it for next month?
Yeah, so in March we get the state burn trailer.
Yeah.
It's a NFPA, National Fire Protection Association compliant burn facility. It's self-contained. It's not the real thing, but it gives us the opportunity to practice the skills and develop, repetitive skill sets, so that the more we practice, the more muscle memory you build into what we do. So that's going to be here through March, as well as we have the house that's being torn down as part of the community house project, the senior center project. We have that through May.
We're going to burn that.
We're not going to probably burn it just because of where it is. It's it's in a tight neighborhood that's already been disrupted.
Cut it out, though.
Cut it out.
So I don't know if you remember years ago we brought up Jim Crawford's crew. Jim Crawford is former assistant chief of the Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire. He's now assistant chief of Pawleys Island, South Carolina Fire Department. But I got to know Jim when Interspiro was in Branford. We went to an Air Pac Tech class, and they had experienced a terrible loss of life. Firefighters in Pittsburgh, 3 firefighters died on Bryson Street, and it was only a short time after we lost Eddie Ramos. So we connected, and he told me how they started to develop this specialized training for firefighters, rescuing firefighters, called Rapid Intervention Team, and he became one of the gurus of that type of training, and he's been doing it ever since. Travels the country to all the major stuff. So we're going to bring his group up because we have a classroom here, we got our maze now, and we have this house, and his group is going to come up here. And using the donation money that's specifically for the RIT training, it's going to pay for that group to come up here and provide a weekend's worth of very intense training that hopefully a great many of the firefighters in our department can take advantage of. So that's the plan for that.
Oh, and I guess Gary said that if for some reason no one wants the trailer, that we could have it for maybe an additional period of time.
Yes. So typically what happens with the regional burn trailer is if there's a calendar, you sign up for it, and then if nobody else wants it, it could just stay here. And it's propane powered. You know, the deal is that it's funded through the Region 2, group here, our emergency management group, and it's you just have to pay for the materials. So it's
No, when it was here last time, I went through it. Oh my God, it's
It was here for a
fascinating.
while, right?
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah.
So one of the things that we're trying to do is lower our insurance services organization rate, and we're going to be able to do that by really doing the training. And you have to, the biggest thing is documenting the training. They like to see it. We're doing the work and we want to get the credit. So we're going to, Gary and I have worked very hard to start getting the documentation where they need to see it. And having a training facility is part of what we need to lower that insurance rate. So with the tower here, when we bring in that trailer, it's credit, and then our time in New Haven is credit too. So we're pretty confident we could lower it from a 4 to a 3. The goal is to at least get to a 2 at some point, which will be a cost savings for everybody in town, one way or the other for insurance.
Okay.
I like the 1. Just
Lean towards
saying,
that,
Chief. Okay. Working on it.
Yeah, no.
Okay, good job, Chief. Apparatus, Commissioner LaCroix?
Yes. So the high-level large items, our rescue truck has been returned. I was actually down on the floor earlier. They did a great job repairing it and
That's the
repainting
Guilford
it.
truck
It
as
doesn't
well?
look anything like Guilford's
Oh,
truck,
okay.
Mr.
Thank
Massey.
you. All right. All right, come here.
Doesn't say Guilford on the side.
Just saying. And all the new Tahoes are in service, and all of the Crown Vic vehicles that we have been turned over to the town. What I thought I would do is get a little bit granular for the benefit of Representative Conlon and for those at home about what's involved. I receive an email report from the department every morning with an outline of all of the repairs that are done. And I think what's important to know, these are very sophisticated pieces of equipment. There's a lot of switches and relays and servos, along with a lot of mechanical things, and there is ongoing maintenance daily. It's important that all of these vehicles are in top working order at all times. So as an example, I have this report, 8 pages that I printed out this morning, and I'll give it to you if you'd like when we get done, if you would just want to see the amount of detail and effort that goes in to keeping the fleet in working order. And so, for example, engine 1, the left rear rope light is very dim. In the middle compartment, there's also a seatbelt alarm when buckled that has to be looked into. Engine 2, there was a primer pump problem, and so while many of you might think that these are all little things, they are by no means little. There is ongoing testing and air sampling of the SCBAs, and for those of you that don't know what that is, stands for self-contained breathing apparatus. If there are pieces that need to be repaired or replaced, that's done so on an almost daily basis, and as needed. The rescue truck was out of service, and as you said, it's back in service now. There's a number of different things that have to be done to them, mounting other portable fire extinguisher, mounting brackets, etc., and the list goes on. And this happens daily.
Exactly.
And so this is from our repairs and maintenance line on our budget that all of this gets paid from.
No, it's a great job.
And since we have been doing it in-house,
Yeah. It's a good
the
job.
biggest benefit, cost is always important, but the biggest benefit is that it keeps the fleet on the road
Turnaround.
much better than if we had been
Send it
farming
out.
them out.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
when we used to send, sometimes we still have to send a piece out for if it's a major engine repair or if it's the large brakes. We don't do the brakes on the large piece of apparatus, but when we do, it's a minimum of a 3-day turnaround, whereas a lot of times it's fixing things within hours, and that keeps, the ambulance is on the road, and that means we have them to serve the public.
And I think the whole fleet, I think, actually is doing a great job on it.
Yes,
And whole kudos go to everything. Firefighter Giroli and his staff on that. And I really want to thank Commissioner LaCroix and really Chief Mahoney on the new rescue truck we got. I really love it. It's red, matches his shirt. You know,
That's why I wore it.
And I got to tell you, Don, I know why you wore that for the RTM tonight. You know, I pushed the wrong paint number button, but it came back instead of wash, it said paint, and it came back red, and it came back beautiful.
Well, but I will make Don happy by saying we just didn't spend money to paint the truck.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We got a good deal.
The paint was free?
Yes, I pushed wash, and it said red.
In the past, we
Cheap part.
we did a major corrosion repair
Yeah.
on both engine 2 and engine 4.
Yeah.
Rescue 1 was of the same vintage. It had a
Same
collision. And because we took advantage of the fact that they had to strip everything down and get it to the point where it could be painted anyways,
We did it
have
all.
it just
Yeah.
sent out for that. It saved us probably about $6,000. So.
Yeah, I think like 10.
Okay.
I think more like 10. No, really.
Oh
Yeah,
my
more like 10
gosh.
grand. Yeah, we did. Yeah,
It saved money.
yeah, we did. It was a good job.
You don't push it too
That's
far.
just a God.
I'm being honest. You know. Yeah, I come from the business side, you know. Okay, Commissioner Fox, EMS.
EMS. Well, and we've heard a lot about ambulances tonight, and basically, again, the revenue is trending ahead of last year. And our target for fiscal year 2019 is expected to be $2 million.
Wow.
Providing the call volume stays the same, and I don't think there's any reason to think that's going to change.
No.
So call volume could fluctuate, but trending wise, it's always trended
It
up.
always trends,
So,
yes, we know it fluctuates.
Well, there may be a year where it dips a little bit. It's trending up.
Yeah.
The projected commissioner comes from Quick Med Claims, our ambulance billing company. Every year, I ask them to compare us to other departments of our size or other services of our size, and how well we do and what we could be doing better to increase our revenue. And they actually say we're doing great. That's
Well,
Actually,
when
we're the
we-
model.
Good.
Yeah.
We are the
Oh,
model.
wow.
When we started to look at this, in my sort of commission
Your
memory,
tenure, yeah.
yeah, I think it was about close to $1 million.
Yeah, it's probably double now.
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
we're just about double.
Yeah, we're double. Yeah.
So
In that
15
period.
years ago, when,
It wasn't 15.
yeah, I didn't believe it either.
Get out.
So 15 years ago, that was just under $1 million.
Yeah, because I
The
can
the
remember
ambulance
when I
revenue.
first came on the commission, sitting in the
kinda started
office
around the
with
same
Jack.
time-ish,
Yeah,
yeah.
we did. We came on at the same time. And analyzing all the calls and trying to see where we were dropping the calls and why we were dropping them. And that's what sort of got the ball rolling on these call-in staff and so forth to try to make sure we weren't
Right.
calling in, we weren't dropping calls. And I think it was a little under $1 million. You probably
Yep.
know better than I.
Around
And
800
you
and
have
something,
to,
yeah.
you have to keep in mind too.
Buzz,
is
what do you
why I
think,
remember.
Buzz?
the payer mix has changed
Yes.
greatly over that
Yeah.
period, where a lot of the people that
Yeah.
we served back then had private insurance through their employer, and good insurance. The Anthem, Blue Cross, Blue Shield.
Yeah.
And our payer mix is mostly Medicare and Medicaid now. So that's.
Yeah, so it's really,
Well,
But we're still doing very
It's-
well.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
not
we do
worth
even
it.
better, but we don't, yeah.
but we're getting to be an older
we're actually better, but,
community.
Yeah, we are.
under a lot of constraints. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
I think,
I will say it's a lot of administration-wise, what they have to do to make that work.
yes.
With, having 4, now we're gonna go to 5, plus a paramedic engine. So we'll talk about that later, but, I mean, it's a lot of administrators. It's a lot of work.
All right, now I remember back in the old days, we had people who they didn't have insurance, and so they would pay X number of dollars every month. Do we still have people like this?
Yeah, so everybody has to pay until we allow them not to.
Okay.
And so typically we look at an individual situation, and we try to come up with a payment plan that's affordable for them, and they pay what they can as long as they can. And it gets to the point sometimes where we will write off
Write it
their
off,
debt.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And you look at a lot of people just simply cannot afford it, and that's kind of one of the things that takes a lot of time. I have to research. I go on Vision Appraisal. I look at people's houses. I say, you can't afford it, but you live on Seaview Avenue. It's you might, and that just because you live there doesn't mean
That may
you
not
can afford
mean
it.
you can
but,
afford it.
Exactly, yep.
You know, it's a starting point. So
Yeah, that may be all the money you have, you're living in it.
well, you know, we find out that.
Funny, they
well,
find my phone number, they call me too, and it's like, okay, I'll talk to you,
But you know, we try to be
Yeah.
compassionate, but we also have an obligation to
Right.
recoup what we can, and you know, so we.
Well, we haven't
do
had
it
any
with
write-offs
some
for quite
sensitivity.
some time.
No,
though.
we really haven't.
Yeah.
had
No, I've been. I write off fairly regularly,
Oh, okay.
but I bring them to the commission. I think I've been doing it like once or twice. a
Yeah,
year.
it's probably been like a more like a
It's
quarterly
been a
type.
while.
thing.
Quarterly, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been getting phone calls, and I'll talk to Tommy about it and say, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They
But
call
I've
the
been
house.
doing-
They
Yeah.
call you?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I gotta tell you, yeah. We even break screen doors, I hear about, once in a while, so it happens. Okay, we'll send someone to repair them, we say.
We
You know.
try.
We don't mean to do that, it's just part of the rescue technique,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, that's true, yep.
All right, and we did buildings, pension and communications, Commissioner Klein.
Pension, okay, let's see, Pension Committee has our meeting set up for next Thursday, the 1st. We will be reviewing the 2017 run reports and
Oh, from a year ago.
for the year ago, right. And so at this point, D.C. Murray sent Jim Finch and myself the printout, and so I went back and counted, and there's, wow, we're going to have only 37 firefighters
Wow.
on the list for this year.
37.
So I was kind of shocked.
That's down from what?
That's down from
like
44 from last
44.
year. 2016, we approved 57.
57.
Whoa.
So it's going
The year
steadily down.
before, 2015, we approved 63.
I remember 63,
Oh, God,
okay.
and the year before it was 44. So I'm looking at the names, okay, names I know year after year. And we have lost some young guys who only maybe come for 1 year, and then I think they just decide this isn't for me, guys, and they bail. And some of our old timers, okay, it's just getting harder and harder for them to do this. So, but yeah, this year with 37, that's kind of scary and everything. So, but the fact that it does fluctuate, I hope this is not
That's
something's
probably
going to stay that
not
way.
to say anything bad, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's just a national trend happening.
But it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I ran into someone here recently. He is an EMT. He works for one of the AMR, it's in New Haven, and he was talking to me about, maybe getting active with Branford. And I said, well, if you just want to ride one of the medic units, you can do that, and we pay well and stuff. But he thought, well, maybe I'd like to be a firefighter too. And I said, you need to come in and talk to the chief, because you just can't decide you're going to be a firefighter.
Too.
No, guys. I mean, it's a commitment that you may not be able to make. So anyway, I haven't seen him show up anywhere, so maybe gave second thought to it. But yeah, anyway, so we'll meet next week, and we do have 2 of our old-time firefighters who are now up for retirement. So that's kind of interesting. So we'll approve them too, and
Yeah,
so we'll wait and see what happens.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really eye-awakening right now.
Yeah.
Chief, that's, just gonna ask you, I'm not gonna put you on the spot. What are you thinking for 2018? I know you don't have a globe, 'cause- but we're going, with this scale has gone down. 63, 57, 44, 37 Class A's that are qualifying.
Well,
What are you thinking for 2018, honestly?
we have we had a good year with new interest in coming,
Yeah.
younger people coming into the department. But the trend, unfortunately, is that when we get a lot of those younger people in, they are looking more for a career, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So we get them, we train them. Between firefighter 1 and your basic EMT class, which is what you need to be a fully functioning firefighter. Most of the volunteers don't initially get their EMT certification. They can function with firefighter 1, and then they eventually go to get it. But those 2 classes alone are about $2,500, and then you add a $3,000 set of gear and a $350 helmet and $200 boots. And so outfitting newer people can be expensive, but it's not as expensive as new career firefighters by far. So, you know, what we do is we figure if we can get a couple of years out of these guys and they get something else out of it, they go on to get a career, at least we got 2 years out of it. But what we're seeing is, you know, we're getting the younger people in, they're only staying for a couple of years. The older guys are getting older, they're retiring, and the middle guys are really struggling to get down here.
Yeah.
And it's just a fact, it's not just Branford, it's everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
So
gotta be
it's
a-
national.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do everything we possibly can to support the volunteer system. I wish I had a crystal ball because
I know you don't have it, no.
I talked to my Fire Chiefs Association and it's the same all over.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no, I know that.
Yeah.
And we're actually in much better shape than a lot of
Yeah, I
places.
know,
We
yeah.
have a good core of guys and they're very dedicated. And we couldn't do it without them. There's, you know, I can't imagine a time where we won't have anybody, but we might just have to
Yeah.
consolidate at some point. But that's, you know, we keep an eye on it every year and we talk about it every year and we add incrementally. And so no year is a good year to talk about more. I mean, it certainly hasn't been since 2008 when the economy took a dive. A lot of areas have recovered. Connecticut continues to struggle. So, you know, our last manpower increase was 2004. And then we added, I began the 3-year staffing plan for the part-time people in fiscal year 2016. This is now going to be fiscal year 2019, which is would have been the 3rd year of the 3-year plan. And in that plan, which I didn't bring a copy to pass out to everybody. You've all seen the plan.
So Chief, are we in your report right now?
Huh?
We're in your report.
Are we going to get into the budget now?
Yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
we're on your report now.
Yeah.
Move from pension to your report,
You
okay.
segued right into it.
I know, I did, yeah, well, I had to. I kind of move on, okay, quick, I'm sorry.
So, but it's a good segue because you know it's really kind of the focus of tonight's
Yeah.
meeting is the budget. So,
It's bland, it's just that.
so the 3rd year of the plan was,
Look at that.
and the reason we chose to go to a part-time model is because it's much less expensive
17.
overall because you're not paying the benefits.
Class A's.
We've had 2 years of experience with the part-time model, and it's worked very well for us.
13,
As far
14,
as
15,
being able to
How many people?
answer the calls.
Pension plan.
It hasn't given us the ability to
No, I hear you. Wow.
to have a lot of the
Disturbing. I didn't realize
you know
that.
to reduce the
This is
amount of
disturbing
calls that we do on a
Yeah.
daily basis. We're you know, for instance, we go to do some of the training that we're supposed to get doing, or go out and do the pre-planning we're supposed to be doing, and there's so many calls. So we're still doing that. We're still busy with calls, but we're not passing calls to other towns, and the revenue's coming out in the door. But the goal of the 3-year plan was to be able to, just for the benefit of the public, the Branford Fire Department is a combination fire department, career and volunteer, that provides firefighting, rescue, and emergency medical services. We do transport EMS at the advanced cardiac, or at the advanced life support level, utilizing 5 ambulances, and we bill for the service, which significantly offsets the cost of the department, but you know certainly doesn't cover the cost completely. When we took over Branford Ambulance back in 1992, it was a good marrying of the two departments. Because ambulances transport people back and forth to the hospital. In the meantime, somebody has a medical emergency, we need to send someone there. So we were providing the first responder service anyways. And we were able to reduce a little of that service, help the ambulance out, and also when we had fires, we had the additional firefighting staff here to do it. We were in pretty good balance at that point. Over the years, and you know, here we are in 2018, we're kind of out of balance again. We're much more of an ambulance service. And the same staffing that's supposed to be here for fire protection on the main fire engine, the only career fire engine in town, is often out doing medical calls. So that coverage just is not there. So we have to try to get that back into balance. So we started with the part-time staffing plan, and it certainly helped. The 3rd year of the plan was the most expensive year of the plan. And if you look at the front page of this budget. And again, this is a preliminary budget, and it is my worst case scenario based on my proposal. So I just want to put that out there right now. It still has not been completely talked about. I have my meeting with the first selectman and Jim Finch in finance on Monday. But they are aware of where we're going with this.
Okay.
So the part-time option, we would need to increase the hours. The third year of the plan was to bring one ambulance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and had a second part-time ambulance 7 days a week for the busier parts of the day. So the cost for that was, an increase of $500,000 plus dollars. And the problem with the part-time staffing, having 2 years of experience, and we kind of knew it going into it, is it's very difficult to manage. They can only work 19 and a half hours, otherwise we start paying them benefits and sick time and vacation time. And so it starts to
cumbersome.
become as expensive as the full-timers. The other thing is you can't order a part-timer in. The same manpower pool that Branford uses to staff our ambulances on a part-time basis are people who are working in all these other services as full-time people. So if they're going to get ordered in there and they make significantly more money at their full-time job than their part-time job, guess who suffers? And they have to go because it's their full-time job, just like we order our full-timers in. So it's one thing to have a position, but if it's not filled, it's not helping us. So those are the challenges that that we're facing with the part-time model. The goal of getting to that 3-year plan was the ability to take 2 of our current full-time firefighter paramedics off of an ambulance completely. And we have in our apparatus replacement plan a light rescue truck, and place those 2 firefighters in a light rescue truck. And the benefit of doing that is now we have another unit we can run, but it's not transporting out of town, so we have those 2 firefighters here available. They go on the higher level medical calls where you need more hands to do the higher level stuff. Somebody's having chest pain, they need 12 lead EKGs, they need IVs, we have to lift, move, carry, transport, start a patient care report, document it all, get their information. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. So we're gonna, the goal is to make every call that much more efficient with a focus on better patient care, reduce the amount of shortcuts that would happen. And it would also allow us, hopefully, to reduce some of the possible injuries when you have 2 people on an ambulance, which is what we send now because that's our staffing model, and that same person having chest pain or somebody who's having difficulty breathing and they're gasping for air and you have to hurry, there's a lot more possibility of somebody lifting and twisting wrong, and that's why we have a higher instances of injury. So this would hopefully help reduce the injuries. And the other goal is that it's going to reduce the amount of time that the only full-time staffed fire engine that we have is not having to go on another medical call. So the difference between running a $210,000 light rescue truck than a $700,000 fire engine, maybe we don't have to replace that every 10 years, we can get that out to 15 years, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So there are a lot of benefits. And the other thing is it's the reliability of the available personnel we have. So as much as our volunteers are doing a tremendous service for the town, they save us a boatload of money, and they're all great people. They have their lives and their own careers and things like that. So if we could schedule them for an emergency, they would show up. But that's just not how emergencies work.
That's not how emergencies work.
And so we are facing a personnel crunch. The other thing that happens in Branford quite often that I don't think people realize is that our call volume doesn't come in 1s and 2s. It comes in multiples.
Probably like 4 or
So
4, 5,
that's why
6.
we often have 4 ambulances on the road at the same time and sometimes 5. This is a report that looks very busy. There's a lot of numbers on here, but this is an overlapping call report, and this is a 6-day run from January 6th to January 12th that shows just in an hour's time how many calls come in. So we may go for a couple hours where nothing's happening, and then we get 1 call, then 2 calls, then 3, 4, 5 calls, and so now we have no coverage in town. And while no fire department can staff always for the worst case scenario, we have to be able to have the ability to cover our calls with some reserve for that next thing, and then we go to mutual aid. And even if we have a major fire right now, regardless, we're using mutual aid, and that's everybody's model. If East Haven has a major fire, Branford's over there. Guilford has a fire, we're over there, and they're over here. So, but everything in what we do is about time, and we need to be able to get people there in a timely fashion. We can't be waiting for somebody else. So, knowing that the eventual goal of the part-time plan was to get to the full-time staffing of a light rescue truck with 2 firefighter paramedics, to make all of those things happen, and knowing that it's never a good time to talk about it, I really looked at where we've been trending, especially with the ambulance revenue, the call volume, and everything. And so I put these 2 reports together for your consideration. And it's an argument that I think is worthy of discussing. So the first sheet here is the revenue, the ambulance revenue that we come in the door versus what we project to make. And the projection is based on historicals, and what's happening is we've been doing really well. We've been exceeding our projection the last several years, and so this chart shows you what our target was, and then the dark blue is how far we exceeded that target. So when we exceed that money goes into the general fund, and it becomes part of the fund balance, which is great. But the second.
That's the town fund balance.
Yes. So the second spreadsheet here is it shows you a 6-year look at how the ambulance revenue truly affects the bottom line of the department and what we cost the town additionally year to year. And now, full disclosure, this does not cover the cost of the capital. Capital is capital. And
Capital side of the budget.
every
We're
group
talking
has
operational.
capital
We're talking the
needs.
operating
We're talking
budget.
operational to
Strictly the
operational.
operational budget.
What it costs to operate the fire
And
department.
it
daily.
also, since benefits don't come out of our operational budget,
Comes out
any
of
increases
human
in the cost
resources.
of insurance or pension contributions or whatever it is not reflected
Yeah.
here. So, but
It's fine.
It's just day-to-day operations.
but the operations budget, it's the same for anybody.
Yeah.
So, looking back to the first line, the approved budget line, is what the RTM approved us to have, and that's the budget we go into the year with. If there was a revenue increase, in other words, if our target last year was to make $1,530,000, they raised it 30,000. Now this year we have to make $1,560,000. Then that's kind of an increase that we have to make in our own budget. So to me, for the sake of cost comparison, I subtract that from my budget because that's honest what we actually cost. And then if we had any additional revenue above the projected revenue, I subtracted that from our budget. And then I compared it to the previous year's actual. Now the previous year's actual could be higher or lower depending on whether we didn't spend all of our money, which we often don't, or if we went to contingency, and we have the last couple of years to contingency to cover things like accumulated sick leave that's not in our budget, and for the people that have retired, or for the contractual raises. When a contract's settled, it's typically not in your operating budget in the beginning of the year. It comes from contingency. So this is an honest, any increase we've had in the operating budget, including contractual obligations, any increase in any line item, whether it's the additional part-time staff or whatever. And if you look down at the 6-year average, we've cost 0.2%. So we're almost,
Neutral.
Neutral,
cost
we're almost a
neutral.
wash.
Yeah.
Now, I ran 6 years, but I could run more, and maybe some years that number goes up or down, but the longer you spread it out, I tried to show that, that's really how we affect the department. And some of the other things that aren't, if since I'm comparing this to a previous year's actual budget, if we gave money back that year, then you know, that's not really reflected in this too. So,
Right.
you know, that's a good
we
thing.
did.
So ultimately, this is the argument that while no year is good year, we really need people. And so I thought if we could increase if we could leave the targeted revenue flat, you know, and we know we're going to make more than that, and you apply that to what I'm asking for in this year's budget to give us those 8 full-time firefighters, then it really offsets this big ask. But I realize we're not the only department that has needs, so you know this is what my argument is. We need to get here sooner than later, and I hope that people would be open to at least discussing the options. You know, one would be allowing us to apply for the SAFER grant, which we have been denied in the past. And you know, if we know that this is something the town's going to do, then it's a no-brainer to apply for that grant because
Refresh us on the SAFER grant again,
So the
for
SAFER
ourselves
grant
and
is
for
a
the audience.
The SAFER grant is a federal grant that provides 2 full years. Now,
Of
I
salary.
haven't seen this year's grant parameters because it hasn't been launched, but last year's grant, 2 full years, and then you're on your own.
Right.
So it covers everything for 2 years.
All in.
Everything. Guilford successfully received the grant. Guilford does half our call volume,
Yeah.
and Guilford has 2 more paid firefighters than the town of Branford does.
Yeah.
So we do a lot with.
When did they
with
start their
us.
department? Like their paid fire
Their paid department only
14
started
years?
about 14 to 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's about right, yeah.
It's amazing.
They were probably, you know,
So
these
we would-
grants are competitive. So
they
there's
are,
no
yeah.
guarantee that we would
We would
get
get it.
Exactly.
But if we did, we would get the personnel at no cost to the town for
For
2
2 years.
years,
2 years.
which allows for some planning to pick
Yeah.
for the pickup.
Yeah.
But because it is a competitive grant and there is no guarantee that
Sure.
we're going to get it, it could be one of those situations where, you know, if this was something that the town was willing to fund, that, you know, we did it at a half year, that would allow us the time to plan for bringing 8 new people into the fire department anyways, and then we could apply for the grant because it's opening any day now. That's part of the problem, is it's opening any day now, and our budget process hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Chief, would the grant fund, if we applied for all 8 firefighters that we're requesting?
If that's what we would write it for.
Gotcha.
And that's what it would fund.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
they do 100% of what, so, you know, they look at, it's a competitive grant and there's only so much money that goes around. So they're going to look at how well it's going to benefit the town. And for instance, one of the reasons Guilford was as successful as they were in getting that grant was they have a whole area of town, which this is something that Branford doesn't have. We're 22 square miles,
They have
fairly
they have
densely
North
populated. Guilford has a whole rural area of town. They're 46 square miles, something
Yeah.
like that. So they had a very large area that has, you know, their volunteers in North Guilford are almost non-existent, and they had that whole area of town they needed to cover. So they put 2 firefighters up there to cover it.
Okay.
So Chief, if we were to apply for the SAFER grant tomorrow morning, what happens if we say, you know, we just don't take it and we get approved?
You don't have to
take
take
it?
the grant.
Yeah.
You can turn it down.
But why would you apply for it if you don't want to take it?
See if we
Well,
get
there's
it.
some logistics
See
here.
if we
Well,
get
because
it,
if the
yeah.
budget process wasn't through yet,
Because
Oh,
it can
okay.
take, if it takes 60 days to get,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If the chief is under constraints,
Yes.
the board has to direct him, you know?
We got it.
so the
Yeah, we have it and we can move forward
the
with it.
application
We had it
process.
once.
We
Yeah,
had-
yeah, we
yes,
did, yes.
We went through this.
The application process typically begins this time of year.
Yeah.
When it opens, it's usually open for.
See his nails? Okay, he's been biting him. Okay.
It's typically open, you know, for a period of time. It closes, and then they gather them all and they go through this
Yeah.
review process. And we probably won't know anything until September.
Yeah,
It's either
Takes
August
a
or
long
September.
time.
Yeah.
No, I know, I remember
Yeah.
the last one.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
But
But I
was
mean, I
hard-
think we need to put what we need in the budget, and we need to talk
That's separate.
forthrightly,
Yes.
Right.
put it in the budget, and plan to apply for the SAFER
Yes,
grant.
exactly.
And present to the town, to the Board of Finance, to the RTM, what the situation is. That we've been putting off and putting off and
Exactly,
putting off
yeah.
and putting off the manpower question. And we're at the breaking point.
And
Listen,
you know,
I'll be
that's-
quite honest and speak on behalf of the chief on this because we have a lot of daily dialogue on this. And Chief, you're honest about it, right? And so am I. I'm very active, and you guys all know that, right? And everybody knows I'm along with the chief and monitor all the calls. And I have, my nails are shorter than his. I run a business, but the other part of the business is we're all in together. It's a life safety business here, and we have a lot of calls. These 5
Right.
ambulances, engine company, car 1, car 2, I mean, they're out.
I know.
I mean, and we're relying on our volunteers, which are stretched thin.
Yes.
We just have, we love what they do, and I appreciate all they do, and we all do, but it's getting
But they're-
thinner and thinner to pull. So we're relying on Guilford, East Haven,
Yes.
and North Branford to assist us. They're stretched.
And just keep in mind that they're in the same.
Yes.
They're in the same boat.
So,
Right.
Right.
it's very, very nerve-wracking, okay? And to know what's gonna happen here, because not gonna, it's just, it's.
You don't want it to be
we're-
your house.
Yeah, we're actually at a
Yes.
time now where we really have to make a decision moving forward here about manpower, and what we need to do here to staff. Our
Just-
staffing levels have to be increased, no doubt about it,
The
Exactly.
yeah.
the budget was built on
So-
eight new proposed 8 new full-time positions.
Yep.
That includes the salaries, the replacement costs, the stipend costs, any other things that affect our operating budget. And the increase to the overall budget is a 9.63% increase. And like I explained earlier, if you were to offset that between the ambulance revenue that's taxed right now, which is $1,650,000, if we use the $2 million as that number, that reduces that number quite a lot. Again, it is not the full cost. Full-time people cost a lot of money. We pay benefits, we pay insurance, there's future costs, there's legacy costs. I understand that, but at some point, this is where the fire department needs to get. I think, for one of the things that people don't realize is in 1963, we started a career fire department with 1 full-time engine. It's 2018.
There's
we
2
have
people on it.
1 full-time engine.
Right.
So we're
Scary.
we at the same time, fires have been reduced greatly through our efforts in code enforcement, building, construction, and whatnot. But when they happen, and a lot of other types of emergencies happen. So we have become a much more all-hazard type of department. We have, unfortunately, in this day and age, I'm getting calls daily asking us, what are we going to do if there's an active shooter situation in
Yes.
town? What are you going to do if there's this situation in town? And
Look at Middletown today.
we're
What
the only
happened,
game in town.
Look what happened in
So-
Middletown.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
today,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot here.
So that's what we're up against, and I think we've made a good argument in how we try to offset our costs as much as possible. The other thing that's always in our budget that is kind of a thorn in our side is we carry a major utility in our budget. We carry the water.
The hydrants.
You know,
Yes, we
That's-
Hydrants.
That's 16.5%, almost, depending on the year, almost 18% of our
Take that out of
overall
the budget.
is
And
just for
actually, we're gonna go
hydrants.
negative if we take that out.
If we could.
We would if we took it out,
Sure,
we'd be
sure.
negative.
Yeah, but the town doesn't want to take it. No,
I know. Well,
they don't
I
want to
mean,
do that.
let's say, we still cost, but
Exactly,
that's
Somebody's
my
gotta pay it.
argument, so.
All right,
Someone's gotta pay
I
it,
think
but, you
it's,
know.
I think,
So
speaking on
that's-
behalf of myself and Commissioner LaCroix, this is the 15th anniversary for us of this
See,
conversation.
So what do you call them, Buzz and I, like old
Well,
timers
wait a
over
minute,
here?
let's go back a few
Well, it
years.
should scare you
Okay,
guys
all
if
right.
we're 15
Now,
years.
I wasn't on the committee. Okay, let's go
Buzz,
back a
I'm
few.
coming on 20.
Oh, you're just a baby for
I know, all right, you're gonna call me a baby. All right, here we go.
the day that we took on the ambulance,
1993 to be exact.
there was big discussions between the ambulance association and us.
Yeah.
And as the fire commission, we knew nothing about the medical, the ambulance side of it and everything.
That was over there. We
That
used
was
to call
over there, yeah.
that's what we used to call over there.
And
Yeah.
the commissioners on the
Commissioners
other
over
side,
there.
they didn't know anything about the fire department, And so, okay, so we got together and we really didn't. We voted, yes, we'll bring it on. Never, and maybe this is something that somehow you can stress, is never realizing how that one ambulance is now.
Oh, there was
It's
two
now
of them.
five.
There. But it's for the whole revolution.
It's just
Yeah.
now five. I mean, five.
And a paramedic engine.
Exactly.
You
Oh,
got
yeah.
Rescue 2 and you
Yes.
got Car 1 and Car 2. They respond.
It's
Those are the
just
guys,
amazing.
we got a good crew.
No,
Yeah.
it was.
Car 6.
If someone had, but no one explained this to us at the time.
Well, I don't think they ever thought it was going to evolve.
Oh,
It started in
no.
Chief City of Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
But the whole concept probably came from, right?
Is that where it started?
Oh,
I
yeah.
really believe it was. I think if you go back in the day, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was at your meeting, Buzz. I was a captain then. So I'm just saying,
Well, also, is,
But, yeah.
and I've said this before, is listening to that radio every day,
Ugh.
listening to the calls, and then having secretary calling in for backup for medic 2, 3, whatever,
5, 6.
fives, whatever. And I always said, it'll be the day that I'm having the heart attack.
God
and everybody
forbid.
is out.
Oh, you're getting us.
Well, I do remember.
All five will be in
remember
New
a story.
Haven.
Who was it? The selectman Sliden,
Yeah,
who had
Yeah.
who was adamantly
yeah.
didn't want the ambulance or something.
Oh, I
and
can
when he
imagine.
had the big one, it broke down or something.
Yeah, no, it happened, yeah.
It
So
is scary how
I
this
just
is
think that,
evolved.
I just really think for the future, I hate to say it, but, it's, the time is there now. We have to
time
do
is
this.
here now.
I can't see anything else except, I just know the stress. I don't know how they operate daily
Yeah.
here downstairs. I give the men and women a lot of credit because
Yep.
I don't know if they know who's on first, who's on second, because they're trading trucks, cars,
Exactly.
and what they're
Yeah.
doing, and
Well, yeah, that's
it's pretty
the thing that
confusing.
when
I
you
watch
start
what
to
they do.
Exactly.
Explain it
Yeah.
to people.
They take the medic 2, then they're on the rescue, they're on engine
Yeah.
7, they're on truck 1. I mean, if you think about what they do, and there's a lot of moving parts. I give them a lot of credit. and
It's
Chief,
scary.
but you know what? Even adding on 2 more per shift isn't going to help the situation. It's going to ease some of the burden.
Yes, it will.
And it'll make
Yeah.
you be a little bit sleeper, help you at night. But I mean, it's just time.
No, it is time.
So
So do we need a motion?
Yeah, I think if you look at all the
Are you
other,
finished?
the budget items that they have, everything here is directed that the
Right.
chief has is to alter the new personnel. So all the increases you see
Is
from all
this-
around.
Yeah.
so any of the increases are
Yeah.
directly related.
Everything
to,
else is really,
2 things. The contract was settled. It includes their contractual raise is part of
in
this
here.
increase, and then the proposed new personnel. The overtime in this preliminary budget is reduced because that 84,000 is the straight cost of running Rescue 2 Monday through Friday for 10 hours a day. That doesn't include, it costs actually more than that, but there's some overtime costs and
Sure.
everything that happens from, when they go past the shift, because they're still on an emergency, but, so we reduced that, and,
Why is there an increase in the deputy fire marshal stipend?
the deputy fire marshal stipend is, because this is a preliminary budget, it's, based on, the contract that's gonna be going before the Board of Finance on Monday for Sean's contract.
Oh,
yes, I was
okay.
going to bring that up to
Oh,
us.
okay,
So,
okay.
so that, I wanted to show what, everything.
Okay, no,
And,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
this isn't, certainly probably gonna be the final number, but it's
Right.
hopefully.
Okay.
So some of these have to change, and if this is not supported, then we have to ask, well, how are we gonna support the part-time, increase?
Then
Which
we
will
have to
still
go
kinda
back,
get us
yeah.
to there, but it's gonna be, still a nightmare of,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'll be able to hire enough part-timers to cover all.
That's the
jobs
biggest
that I'll-
problem.
Well, that's,
Yes.
yeah,
They
yeah.
are-
So
it's
we
become
would have
a-
to revisit the 3-year
Yeah.
plan and,
It's it's just tough getting them.
oh, I know.
Well, it
We-
is.
I know what
we've
they
done
go
the
through. Yeah,
interviews.
yeah, I know,
I mean,
yeah,
we
yeah,
interviewed like
yeah, you're there,
12
you're
to
doing
15
them, yeah.
people.
Yes,
We have 33 part-time personnel now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna more than double where we're going if
we have to
continue
go that route,
model.
yeah.
So that's a lot.
Remember,
of
you only got 19 hours a week to go work.
Right, but just the management of that
know that.
alone.
Exactly,
It's tough.
exactly.
I see the emails, they go out,
Well,
it's,
you know, with anything, you get to the tipping point, you get to the breaking point, and we're at it.
no, we've already
We've been at it for a long
Been at it for
been
a
at
long
it.
time. But we have
Eventually-
really, and the other thing I think is, that I would say is, we've really tried to work with it the way the
yeah.
town has asked us to work with it.
Yeah.
You know, coming up with these plans, creating these pools of employees.
Well, I mean, I think if you just
Yeah,
look
we're at a
at this
breaking
chart
point.
right here,
I think
the
so.
We're at
revenue
a
target
breaking point,
versus
yeah.
comparison, when we
tired.
started talking about this in 2015, that was the only year on this chart that we didn't hit our revenue target.
Okay.
Yeah,
And when we added the part-time personnel and we started answering our own calls and billing for those calls, the money came in the door. So
Absolutely.
it paid for it.
absolutely.
plus the service was there.
And
911.
that's the most.
That's number one.
And that's,
service.
and the other thing is, along with it sort of being at our wits' end with this, or the end of our rope with this, when we first looked at this quite a while back, there were slower times. Now those,
No,
they don't exist anymore.
no,
You know,
think
we
I
could
think
talk
we're up.
about,
yeah.
you know, well, after, I mean, we really looked at it in terms of time blocks and so forth, and we could, and, you know, well, after 6 on
This is our
weekdays.
We did
yeah.
everything.
alarms
Okay.
by
Yeah, there it
hour.
is.
Yeah.
By hour, by day,
Well, that
by
doesn't
night.
exist anymore.
No.
Yeah, no.
Chief,
Sundays used to be a bad, Sundays and Thursdays or something.
Yeah,
were a
Thursdays
bad
was a
day.
Well,
bad day.
Mondays were medical Mondays, we
And
know that.
Monday.
Yeah, never figured that one out, but whatever.
What's
Well, in this run, which is just January, Tuesday's our busiest day.
Tuesdays, oh my God.
Really? What happened to Monday?
So, well, I tell you what happens. The longer I run this report out, if I run it for a year's time as opposed to a month time, the everything flattens out. There's no
Oh
day that's
my
really busier than
God.
the other.
yeah.
I just know every morning about 5:10, 5:20, yink, yink,
Get the
yink,
phone.
yink. Oh,
Yeah, I
they
can hear
just
my
start-
ding,
and you
ding,
can-
ding.
They no, I just well, I got the downstairs having espresso,
No.
and you just hear the
Starts
calls
at
keep coming in.
5 o'clock in the
So what-
morning, it
Yeah.
really starts
See,
shooting up.
telling you,
Stays busy.
it just keeps going. Yeah.
Yes, I have to say, I hear the phone go ding.
But actually, all during the night though lately, it's been
No,
really
I turned mine
bad.
off, I turned mine
No,
off.
I don't turn it up, I don't think I don't hear.
Oh, Buzz, just in case you call, I
Chief,
have it
do you
on.
have any data
Just in case.
on calls that we've passed?
God forbid, all right?
About being able to respond?
No?
I ran recent. The Commissioner LaCroix asked if I have calls and calls that we've passed. We still passed approximately just to the Guilford Fire Department, probably 87 calls
In-
a year's time,
In a
which
year's
is
time.
much less.
Much,
than-
I was just gonna say, that's low
Charlie
compared to
likes
what we
that.
were
How about
passing.
AMR?
Wow.
Not nearly as
Not
much.
nearly.
Guilford is our primary mutual aid partner.
Right.
Guilford, North Branford, Madison, and then AMR.
Okay.
I definitely see more Guilford. That's why I thought it was Rescue 1 downstairs from Guilford. That red truck, you know?
So are we
All
ready
right,
for a
Chief.
motion?
All right.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Ready to approve the
I'm going
budget?
to move the approval of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2019.
I'll second it.
Could I just add something to that before
Okay.
we do that? We'll have discussion. That it's approved pending, it could change and
Yes,
fluctuate.
yes.
There's a meeting scheduled for the 26th, Chief?
Yes, I have a meeting on the 26th with Jim
Oh,
and Jamie to get
so we could get some
guidance.
recommendations.
Yep, and then,
Call me in.
yeah, and
So my motion should be
Yeah.
approved, I'm making a motion to approve the budget, including any modifications
Yes.
recommended
Right.
in consultation with the financial
Finance
officers.
and the first selectman,
Finance and the
yes.
first
Yeah.
selectman.
And I'll second.
Is that right, first selectman and the
Yeah.
board of finance, or the
Yeah.
finance
I'll be in.
director?
yeah.
Okay, okay,
yeah,
Discussion?
regardless what they give to us, so
right.
other boards
Okay.
will do their jobs.
Aye.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay,
Abstentions? So voted?
We got
Aye.
it.
Aye.
Okay, good. And also at this time, I'd like to have a motion that the chief apply for the SAFER grant
okay.
for 8 new firefighters for the town of
I
Branford.
make a motion the chief apply for the SAFER grant to fund 8 new
I'll
firefighters.
second that one.
Discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Approve? Aye. Okay, approve. Chief, anything else in your report? I think you covered everything pretty much, okay? Assistant Chief's report. We're gonna be going before the Board of Finance on the 26th, for his contract. We're on the agenda,
Okay,
so I'll be presenting that.
okay.
And that's reflected in the budget that we have. It's mainly on stipends. There's really nothing on salary's a salary.
Oh.
It's mainly stipends and some clothing allowance. And some life insurance that only reflects changes within the town for him. So that's for his 5-year contract. That expired on June 30th, 2016. Okay? And I do want to report that the fire inspector, Dobinski, is, I gotta give him a lot of credit. So he's
Busy.
doing a lot of work.
He does.
He actually came and visited 2 of our spots today, so I gotta
Oh,
tell him, he doesn't
nice.
discriminate at all.
Okay.
Walks around and checks everything with a fine tooth comb.
Good.
And, yeah, doing a good job, Chief. And I said, boy, I can't remember how many years ago, actually, someone came, probably goes back with Jack, when he was deputy fire marshal.
To come,
That's going
just gone
back
through
To come
and
and
looked.
do-
11 years ago, that's going through and checking out manufacturing places, so.
Good,
yeah.
good, good,
That's a
good.
good thing, we're being proactive, and
Yes.
he wants all the reports from the sprinkler systems. He wants everything at the firehouse, which, so I had to go back and give it all to him as a business owner, so
You know, one of the
It's all good things.
The nice things is
it's great, it's great.
being able to look into your group of people and identify, people's strengths and who would be really good at that particular job. And I saw Rob as being really good at that job a long time ago, and he's doing a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
Good.
And very confident that Deputy Chief Bloomquist in his new position will
Yeah.
be
That'd be good.
that way as well. So.
I can see him already
Yeah.
in the email, tracking things.
Oh, yes.
I have to actually say he's coming back tomorrow morning at one of our facilities, 10 o'clock.
Oh.
And he's gonna hold a little fire alarm, a little surprise visit.
Oh,
Make sure that things, because of everything going on we're talking about the new land we live in,
right.
everything is locked down, so.
An
You wanna make
evacuation.
down,
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
evacuate, is everything released, so he's coming back, surprise
Oh,
visit.
gosh.
So
Oh,
no one
gosh.
can tell anybody that, but he's coming, but good job, chief. So I know you and Sean have been working on that, and I gotta tell you, that's a good thing, no, yeah, you can't tell anybody, yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, wait a
No,
minute,
that's
the
a good
camera's
thing.
still on.
No, I actually really like it, that's really good though,
Yeah,
so it's good.
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 Anything else under the fire marshal? I know he's busy, a lot of stuff going on in
No, and
town.
besides, inspections, the part of Rob's title is the fire prevention inspector. And so he works a lot with various community groups to do education. And he does outreach. I don't know if you saw the recent young boy who came back from the hospital after 6 weeks. A lot of grave medical emergencies or medical problems that he's going to struggle with for a long time. But they contacted us and they said, hey, could you guys just come out and welcome him home? So the on-duty shift, went up there, and as he came, they stood, and he,
Yeah,
and Bob coordinated all that. So he did a great job, and
Good.
that's what the fire department does.
Yeah.
Yep.
that's good.
March 1st, we read Dr. Seuss at Sliney School.
Oh,
So.
nice.
All right,
Oh,
very
I'd like to
good.
tell my
I
grandson.
like that,
He's in the first grade there.
very
I
good.
still have the books in the attic.
Okay, old business?
None that I can think of.
Buzz, I have something for you, but I can't talk about it until after, but the chief has something, I think we found the original Red Book.
I have the original red.
No, we're
No?
talking the original
You're
Red Book.
kidding.
Right, chief?
The one Dorrance gave me?
Yes.
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 Oh, my God.
Yes.
All right.
I think we found the original.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to share it with you, but I think it might be time, okay? All right?
It'd be nice
Yes.
if we go back to this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice, yeah, we like that. That's what we said, it was pretty simple. Okay.
Amazing. I gotta see it. I gotta
Yep,
see
new
it.
business.
Yes.
So
we need-
Chief, Short Beach has requested the upgrade. That's the whole calendar year divided by 12. So what is that, $100 a year?
A month, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
well, yeah.
the good news is that the increase is already in our budget. So
Okay.
we don't have to ask.
So we're good about
All
that.
right,
So it's
so
all
we-
approved? Okay.
Okay.
I remember one thing, MP
So we need
Rice.
a motion to approve it?
Um,
Yeah, just to accept the increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I had a motion to
okay.
accept Short Beach Company for
I'll
the
move
rental
that.
increase.
All right, I'll second.
Okay, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, yes,
Okay, opposed,
okay.
approved, okay, so voted. And then we had MP Rice has, I think it was for St. Patty's Day, they want to take the
Patty's
truck
Day.
out, depending the chief's approval for.
Right.
Yeah, unless we have any
It's
type
March-
of
yeah.
major
Yeah.
Yeah, they go.
Just
They go
breakdowns
every
in
year.
apparatus.
I just needed approval
They
to,
do that every year.
it's part of our
Make the
red book.
motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, okay, so voted. Anything else on a new business?
That's it. Yep.
I have nothing, okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, motion to adjourn,
Okay.
So
all in
moved.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
we are done, thank you all.
The preceding program was brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.